Donald Trump, in all his glorious stupidity, has yet again kneecapped himself and his administration by trying to set up and subsequently walking right into his very own poorly constructed trap.
Boy, it's just going to be a gravy train. You're just going to get paid for 7 months without working. The president has no authority to make that offer.
Virginia Democrat Senator Tim Kaine there pushing back against the Trump administration's offer to around 2 million federal workers to resign and be paid through September.
You cannot make this stuff up, folks. Dementia Don just took a diarrhea doo-doo and decided to step right in it. And in this breaking story, according to a former federal prosecutor, Trump is now afraid of what he has wrought on himself. And y'all, this isn't even the only self-laid trap that backfired on him today. Like, if this guy had the capacity for human emotions like shame or embarrassment, he'd probably have locked himself in a windowless room and just farted till the fumes ended it stinkily but peacefully already. So let's break down the details of these two terribly laid traps that immediately and spectacularly backfired on his cartoon villain ass, and learn about how he is summoning the exact sleeping giant he has for so long sought to destroy. That being namely a deep state cabal inside the government that seeks to oppose his every whim, which, counter to Trump's claims, has never truly existed in any real form. But after what he's done, it very well may. But before we get to that debacle, we first need to talk about the cabal of enemies that Trump is making outside of the government and within the immigrant community. And I know you may be thinking, with all the ICE raids going on, obviously immigrants are turning on him and don't like him, but trust me, this bonehead up he did regarding birthright citizenship adds an unexpected twist that actually makes all of that even worse for Trump's 1940s Germany-esque round up and deport 'em all plan. And this creator on Instagram, Oh That's Rich, brilliantly points this out.
The single funniest thing about Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship is this. His entire case is based around the interpretation of a specific clause in the 14th Amendment and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. He and his team believe that if they can convince the courts that undocumented immigrants, because they're from another country, are not subject to U.S. jurisdiction, then he can prevent their children from having birthright citizenship. This clause was originally written for foreign diplomats who came to the United States for work and then who had kids here. And it was smart, because if you think through the Cold War, you didn't want somebody who was from the Soviet Union, for example, to come here, have a kid, and then that kid is an American citizen. But do you know what that clause also does? By exempting someone from your jurisdiction, you are also saying that you cannot arrest or detain them without written permission from their government. Trump's grand plan to end birthright citizenship for what might be a couple thousand kids would at the exact same time prohibit his administration from arresting or detaining any undocumented immigrant, because the clause in the 14th Amendment doesn't say anything about being male, female, or pregnant. If Donald Trump's executive order is approved, it could grant full diplomatic immunity to every undocumented immigrant in the country. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Donald Trump's stupidity has always been and will always be his greatest enemy.
Exactly, folks. A wise woman once said, stupid is as stupid does. And Trump is doing a whole lot of stupid, because that was followed almost immediately by this massively moronic move for round two.
More than 2 million federal employees have a choice to make: accept a buyout, to resign, or keep their jobs and accept the Trump administration's new requirements, including returning to the office. Either way, the White House is looking to cut costs and downsize government.
A government email titled Fork in the Road offers federal employees a choice: a severance package or return to the office. The U.S. Office of Personnel Management says federal employees who accept the buyout would go on leave but still be fully paid with benefits until September 30th.
Now you may be thinking, okay, this seems like a stupid move, and not to mention a waste of the very money that Trump is trying to save, but how exactly does that blow up in Trump's face? Well, that's where things get interesting and very bad for Diaper Don. Because you see, it turns out federal employees don't particularly like being forced to retire. And according to a former federal prosecutor, Joy Vance, unfortunate last name, quote, there is a reason Trump is afraid of the federal bureaucracy, the career civil servants he wants to replace. They are powerful, they are knowledgeable, and although they often get a bad rap, in my experience, 25 years of it, they are dedicated and mission-driven. Adding, tell doctors at CDC, federal prosecutors at DOJ, or scientists at the Department of Agriculture that they can't do their job, and they will find a way to get it done. Tell the entire bureaucracy you want them to leave, You've summoned the sleeping giant. Vance goes on to say that that is exactly what Trump has done with these so-called buyout offers, saying buyouts are not unheard of in the federal government. In fact, they tend to happen every few years. In essence, they are a cost-saving device designed to get more experience and hence more expensive employees to retire a couple years early to be replaced by younger, less expensive employees. It's how many offices across the country stay staffed at necessary levels to do the work without busting their budgets, but not this one. Some experienced in these matters told her it was, quote, a trap, not a buyout. And others with experience in federal employment law seem to agree.
He doesn't have any authority to do this. Do not be fooled by this guy. You were here before he was here, and you'll be here after he was here.
The American Federation of Government Employees says the buyouts will have vast unintended consequences that will cause chaos for the Americans who depend on a functioning federal government. Those who don't take the offer could still see their positions eliminated.
But here's the kicker. After Vance criticized the purported motive of the move, saying the goal was to remake the career professional civil service into a troop of Trump loyalists, she also took a look online to verify and see the general reaction from the move within the federal government, and said, on Reddit last night, it was clear that a sizable number of federal employees are digging in for the fight. Donald Trump has always fantasized about a deep state inside of government that opposes him, something that didn't exist, and now he is well on the way to creating one. It turns out federal employees take their oath, their job, and their duty to serve very seriously. So Donald Trump, congratulations for taking a massive dookie on the federal government, pulling up your big boy pants, taking off your shoes and socks so you're barefoot, and then stomping right on that giant turd. You absolute moronic dumb. Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed the video and like hearing about when Trump steps in his own doo-doo and shits where he eats, please consider dropping a like on the video, subscribing to the Really American channel for more continued coverage of Dementia Don bringing on his own downfall. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse, and I'll see you all in the next one.
What's your latest reporting tell you about this offer and whether it's actually going to be entertained by some federal workers?
Yeah, well, basically, federal workers got this email that they were completely not expecting, not only telling them to be back in the office 5 days a week, but saying that if they didn't want to do that, they could go ahead and simply defer their resignation. They would need to make a decision by February 6th as to whether they wanted to resign. They were told all they needed to do was simply reply to an email with the word resign, and it would become effective September 30th, that they would basically be able to receive pay and seemingly not work at most federal agencies. That obviously sparked a lot of confusion. There weren't really any clarifications as to the details of this offer, so that's something that federal agencies have been scrambling to get, that federal employees have been scrambling to get, but it's definitely created a lot of confusion.
It certainly caused a stir. Just traveling around Northern Virginia in recent days on some stories, you can just hear from federal employees all of this concern about these new rules and these new proposals. It's disruptive, to say the least, for some of them.